Well, there's one very important thing that you should be asking God when you're struggling under trial. And this, in fact, is one of the more popular verses in our Bible. James chapter 1, verse 5 says this: "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him." So here's the lesson. We are to respond to the trials of life by asking for wisdom. You see, the context of the passage is suffering. Earlier, James says, "Count it all joy when you fall into various trials." And one of the things that we learn from this particular passage is that when we are confused about what to do or how to respond to a trial, we should be praying for wisdom. Now, we, of course, pray about a lot of things, don't we? We pray, "God, heal my mother of cancer." "Lord, repair my relationship with my son." "Father, help me in this financial mess. Help me get out of it so things can be much better for my family." Or, "God, lift me out of my depression." But let me ask, when is the last time you prayed for wisdom concerning your trial? I mean, are we always praying, "Lord, just get me out of this"? How about praying, "God, give me wisdom in this"? Now, I tell you, that is something that I long to have. You see, James is not simply talking about enduring pain. He's talking about understanding pain. And to understand it, we need wisdom. And the wisdom, of course, that James is telling us to ask for is not some kind of intellectual enlightenment, but the wisdom that he has in view is the wisdom that enables us to grow in maturity as we struggle under trial. And this kind of wisdom can only be gained by asking God for it. Proverbs 2:6, it says, "It is the Lord who gives wisdom." We need a God-given wisdom that allows us to look deeper into the trial and to see that God is doing a work in the midst of this pain in order to prepare us for heaven. But you see, one of the problems is that we don't always think rationally about our situation when we're struggling. You know, our tears very often, they blur our mental vision, our emotions. They forcibly take the reins in an attempt to guide us. This is why we really do need to be praying for wisdom. If you feel today that you are drowning because of the circumstances of life, ask God to give you the insight that you need during this time of trial. You see, God is not going to criticize you if you ask Him. He will give you wisdom without reproach. You see, all that we need to do is ask. God does not desire to see us try and navigate the trials of life alone. His desire is to help us, but we need to ask. God expects His children to acknowledge that sense of dependence within their lives upon God. You know, sometimes when my daughter Emmy is struggling with something and the frustration just begins to settle in and she begins to pout or cry, Mom always comes along and she says, "Emmy, use your words. Ask me and I'll help you." You see, my wife wants our daughter to acknowledge the state of dependence that she has on her parents. Well, God is similar. He doesn't just kind of give us wisdom when we need it. He desires that we ask for it. He gives generously to all without reproach. Napoleon was a general that nearly conquered Europe. And there was a captain in his army that had done a very heroic deed. And Napoleon, he wanted to reward him, so he gave him this huge financial gift. And the captain said, "Well, this is too much for me to receive." And Napoleon said, "It may be too much for you to receive, but it's not too much for me to give." God doesn't hold back His good gifts from His children. Those who ask God in faith for wisdom can be assured that they will receive it, because that's God. He gives wisdom generously and without reproach. God has appointed prayer as a means of obtaining the psychological health that we need in order to maintain and endure trials. Well, if you've been helped by this video, well then please go ahead and hit the like button so this video will be able to spread to all kinds of other people in hopes that they can be helped by it as well. Well, thank you so much. God bless you in the way.